Okay, welcome to this MECH 1000 video. This is going to be the first video that's really going to get into AutoCAD and how to use it. So I'll try to keep things pretty slow and basic. I've got AutoCAD 2020 installed on my computer. Let's go ahead and open it. So this is the screen that should pop up on your computer. And what we're going to do for the time being when we open up a new AutoCAD drawing is we can just click this Start Drawing. What this is doing is it's actually opening up a template that is a part of the AutoCAD program. Later on, we'll talk a little bit more about templates. We might create our own template or choose a different existing template. But we're just using the acad.dwt, that's the default template. So we can just click on that. And this will get us started. So Autodesk or AutoCAD has a ribbon display. And we are going to be primarily focusing, especially here in the beginning of the semester, on the Home tab. So on this Home tab, we have lines, polylines, circles. We have a whole bunch of commands, and it can seem a bit overwhelming at first, all the different options and buttons, but we're going to start off just by making lines. That's the most basic thing to do within AutoCAD, is to create a line. Now before we start making any lines, let's take a look at our workspace here. First of all, I should point out that I am panning back and forth. You can see my cursor turns into a hand symbol when I pan. And the way I'm doing this is by pressing and holding down on the wheel on my mouse. So press and hold down the wheel, and then just moving the mouse left and right, up and down, you can pan. You can also zoom with the wheel, zooming in and out. Zooming up, rolling up zooms in, rolling down zooms out. Now what we're looking at here is a symbol that is showing us where the origin is. You may recall from a math or geometry class or algebra class, the XY coordinate system. And the beginning, where the X and Y axes intersect, has a coordinate of 0, 0. And as we move along to the right, our X coordinate increases, and as we move up, the Y coordinate increases. If we go to the left, then we are starting in the negative X direction, and if we go down, that's the negative Y direction. So just like a giant XY graph, the workspace, the model space is what we call it. Let me actually move this up a little bit. There we go. So we can see down here it says model, because right now we are working within the model space. And this is where we do all of our drawing. This is where we create all of our shapes. This is where we make our lines and circles and rectangles and everything else. Will be in this area. Think of it as like a giant piece of paper that we can draw on in any way that we want. And as I said, the simplest basic command in AutoCAD is the line. You can click up here on line, and that will then prompt you in this command line down here to specify the first point. So all of this model space is a giant XY coordinate system, and every conceivable point on the screen has some coordinates. So when we want to specify the first point of our line, we could just simply click somewhere randomly, and then click a second point somewhere else on the screen randomly. And then to finish the line command, hit the escape button, and we've drawn a line. Okay, a line has a beginning and an end. So we specify 2 points and then escape out of the command. The line command is one that if we don't escape out of it, it will just continue to prompt us to make more and more lines. We can just keep click, 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 clicking. Okay, and so that's all well and good for just kind of fooling around, but we're not going to want to draw lines of random length at arbitrary angles. We're going to want to use AutoCAD to do technical drawing, and we're going to want to be very specific about the length of our lines and the angle of our lines. So we need to get a little bit more careful about how we specify the beginning and end point of our lines. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of all of these. I'm going to click somewhere to the right of my screen with a single click. Drag my cursor all the way over to the left and make this big green box. Anything inside that box gets selected, and then we have an erase command up here. It looks like the eraser on the tip of a pencil, or you can just hit the delete key on your keyboard. I'm going to erase them. So how can we choose specific points, not just arbitrarily choosing points on our screen, but telling AutoCAD specifically where we want our line to begin and end? So if this is all one giant XY coordinate system, we can do it using the keyboard. We can key in a starting point. Let's say I want to start it at the coordinates 3, 2. So that means starting at the origin 3 units over and 2 units up. So I'll specify that, and that's what I've done. I've selected a starting point that is 3 units over and 2 units up. Now you can probably see the faint grid in the background. By default, when you open up that template, the grid spacing is set up so that each of these squares is half of a unit, or we'll say half an inch. Technically, it's not inches, it's actually unitless. It's just a generic unit, but we'll call it inches. So this first box is a half, and then 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. And counting up from the x-axis, 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2. So you can see that intersection of that grid line, although it's faint, it's there, is the coordinate 3, 2. Now for the second point of the line, again, I can click randomly on the screen, or I can key in some more coordinates. Maybe I want the coordinates of the second point, instead of be over 3 and up 2, maybe I want it to be over 5 and up 2. And so I can key in 5, 2. And so you can draw lines by specifying the coordinates of the starting and ending point. But that can be rather tedious. So let me show you a different way. I will start the same way. I'll select the line command and specify the coordinates 3, 2 as the first point. But instead of specifying the coordinates of my second point, let's just say I know I want this line, I want it to be 2 inches long. I move my cursor in that direction, and depending on what your settings are, there are a bunch of different settings down here. Depending on what is turned on and off, like for instance right now, I have polar tracking turned on. So when I move over to the right, I see this dashed green line. If I turn that off, that green line doesn't show up anymore. I want that to be turned on. So if yours isn't turned on, make sure that you turn it on, so that as you move to the right, that green line appears. What that's going to do is it's going to make sure that the line that we're about to draw is horizontal. And with my cursor moving in the direction I want my line to go, I'll just specify a distance, 2. Okay, and then escape out of that command, and I've drawn a line that is 2 inches long. I can put a linear dimension on it. Don't worry about the dimensions, we'll get to that much later. But I'll put a dimension on it just to prove that it is 2 inches long. So drawing vertical and horizontal lines is pretty easy. By turning on polar tracking or this ortho mode, polar tracking allows you to specify increments of 90 or 45 or some other degree measurement. Ortho only allows you to go up and down or side to side. So if I have ortho turned on, I choose my starting point. Maybe I go back with the same one, 3, 2. And it only allows me to go horizontal or vertical. And I just move my cursor in the direction I want it to go and specify the length of the line I want it to be. Maybe this time I want the line to be 5 inches long. I just type 5, enter, escape, and I've got a 5-inch line. So for the first couple assignments, this will work pretty well by just clicking on a starting point, moving your cursor in the direction you want it to go, and specifying lengths, and then just kind of work your way around. So I think that's where I will stop in this video. Basically just showing you how to draw vertical and horizontal lines. I'll save diagonal lines for another video. So hope that helps get you started. As I said, the first homework assignment I think can be completely done by vertical and horizontal lines. So I would recommend having ortho mode or polar tracking turned on, just choosing your starting point and then indicating the direction you want to go with your cursor and typing in the length of the line with the keyboard. I'll make another video to show how to use the grid snap system that will also help you out. And as I said, I'll make a separate video on how to do diagonal lines. But that's it for now.